there, thanks for joining me today. This is Laura Lynn with Keep Inking Up. I'm an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up in San Antonio, Texas. And today I wanted to share some ideas using some free Celebration products. Remember, Celebration ends on February 28th, so you just have a couple more weeks left to earn your free products. And you can earn different items for $50 orders or $100 orders. And today I wanted to share some samples using one of my favorite items that are free, and that is the Flower and Field Designer Series paper. Let me pull this in. These are the various patterns in that pack that are just beautiful. I love these bright flowers. I think I really like the contrast with the black in this particular patterns. Such pretty paper. I've been using it quite a bit. I've already cut up my pieces and I've been using them a lot, so I wanted to share some samples. This is one in particular that I really like. And I'm going to show you another little tip on how to step this card up a little bit a little later in this video. But this is a really pretty card using the Just Jade Flirty Flamingo that is found in the Designer Series paper. And then I made a coordinating envelope by adding the Designer Series paper on the flap of the envelope. So isn't that pretty? Such a pretty card to plop in the mail. And I love this thank you. Now this thank you sentiment is from another Celebration item that I wanted to share with you, and that is the Heal Your Heart stamp set. I hope you can see this. I love the fonts on these sentiments. There's some really small small text font on there as well, but this is another example of an item that you can get for $50, and I've used that quite a bit in the cards I'm going to share with you too. Let me grab these cards. I'll just kind of go through them. I have quite the stack. Here is one that uses the this particular sentiment is from the Peaceful Moments stamp set, and this is the painted poppies, which goes really well with the poppies in the Designer Series paper from the Flower and Field Designer Series paper. And again, I did the flap on that envelope, but isn't that pretty? Such a pretty card. Here's another one. This again uses a sentiment from the Peaceful Moments and uses the Designer Series paper from the Flower and Field DSP. Next one I have using the daisies, so I used the medium daisy punch that coordinates, I think, really nicely with the daisies. And then this Happy Birthday sentiment. I believe this one is from the Art Gallery stamp set that has a lot of nice simple fonts of sentiments on there. And again, the flap on that envelope. This is another one using the paper, and I believe this sentiment comes from A Touch of Ink, which is the larger stamp set that is free with a $100 order. And again, I used it on the flap, and I think this is my favorite pattern, I think, for this, from this set of papers, because here's another card that is just like the one I shared with you right now. This one I used to use a different color background instead of the Just Jade and Flirty Flamingo, because that is what's in this particular pattern. This one I pulled out the pumpkin pie and the pool party that's in the paper of this one. And again, it uses the same thank you stamp set from the Heal Your Heart. This one uses the same pattern paper as here, and I use the back side on here too. And then this You Make Me Happy is from the Pretty Perennials stamp set, and I actually use the flower for that on this particular stamp set as well. This, if you've watched my videos before, I think this is my absolute favorite bundle of all time. If you don't have this, you're crazy. You have to have it. It's a beautiful, beautiful stamp set and coordinating dies, and we'll be using that again in a little bit later. So there's another card, and then this one uses the large sentiment die from the Art Gallery bundle, as well as this particular sentiment on there and the die cut on that one. And again, I used, on all of them, I used the flap of the Designer Series paper. Here's a Valentine's Day card. So this is using the Meant to Be stamp set and the coordinating Be Mine stitched dies. I think that's just a really cute card, and again I did the flap, and I think I did the inside as well. I think this sentiment is from Butterfly Gala. Pretty card. Then here again use the Heal Your Heart stamp set, the Wishing I Could Heal Your Heart, and this actually was cut out with I think this is from the Tasteful Label dies, I think. And then I used the Tasteful texture 3D embossing folder on that one too. So another really pretty card. And the last one is a happy birthday card, and this uses the Designer Series paper, and then the sentiment here is from Happy Thoughts, which is another really lovely sentiment stamp set. The leaves that are stamped and colored with my blends is from the A Touch of Ink stamp set, which is the free one with a $100 order. And then this was cut out using the Tasteful Label dies. And again, I did the flap on that envelope. So those are the cards that I wanted to share with you, but now I wanted to point your attention to a couple of times on these card samples. I hope you can see it, is I added a little beveling on the die cuts for the sentiment. So I wanted to share how to do that. So I'm going to put this card aside for a moment. This is my deluxe foam mat that I always use when I'm stamping with photopolymer stamps. It goes in the Stamparatus, but I use it all the time for my photopolymer stamps. But I'm going to actually turn it over because I'm going to use the spongy side today. And I have another card that I'm going to put together that is very similar to this one, but I'm going to step it up a little bit. I'm going to use the same dies. What I have here is I have the die cut in there. I've already stamped it, so I'm cut it out using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm leaving the die in, or the paper in the die, and then I'm going to bring my Take Your Pick tool with the stylus on the end, and I'm going to run the stylus along the edge. I'm going to find the edge of that die, and what this is going to do is it's going to add a beveled edge to this die cut. And I'm just kind of going slowly around, pressing into the foam of the mat below. I'm just following, I'm letting the stylus go follow the edge of the die cut all the way around. Okay, you don't have to press too hard. Then when you pull it out, hopefully you can see the added beveling that adds. I think that just makes such a big difference on my card. And I'll bring in, you can see the difference between the two, between this one and this one doesn't have the beveled edge on there. It's just a little touch, but I think it adds quite a bit. And I did that already on the flowers. You don't have to do it just on your sentiment labels. This flower, hopefully you can see the difference. It has a bit more dimension to it because I've added that beveled edge, and I did the exact same thing. I just put while the paper was still in the die, I went around the back and just kind of popped it up a little bit. So now we'll go ahead and finish this card if I can find my dimensionals. There they are. So I'll put some dimensionals on the back of this now beveled sentiment layer. And oh, another thing I wanted to mention is a paper saving tip. I cut this out of my layer behind the Designer Series paper, so that's a paper saving tip. This came out right out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and take the backings off of these dimensionals that I have on here to put them on my card. Okay, I get that kind of straight, and then I can add my sentiment. I think I might add one more dimensional in the middle just to make sure it doesn't sag in the middle there. And I'll place this on my card. Center that up, and then I can add my flower off to the side. Now these two cards are basically the same, but I think that you'll agree that adding that little bit of beveling around those dies just makes a nice extra touch on the card. So I hope that you found this little tip helpful on how to use your dies and add even more dimension to your projects. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.